Hi everyone, it's Anne. Welcome to my channel, Annie's Abstract Art, where I do just that. I wanted to do a piece that mimicked stone, so I used a lot of different techniques. I can't wait to show you how I did it. The video will start now. Enjoy. So here I'm starting on a 6 by 6 inch sheet of watercolor paper and laying down lightweight drawing compound to start the composition and texture. And this is Calypso Sky acrylic, and it's kind of like a baby blue with a little bit of turquoise just to get a color pop. This is old paper. I tore it and the leftover piece went on the bottom, and it's not meant to show, it's for texture only. And now that the drawing compound is dry, I am going over it with heavy body white acrylic, not only over the drawing compound, but over the entire piece to kind of get that texture going, dry brushing. This is alcohol ink that I make, and I diluted it with water because I want to start staining. So here it's almost like using coffee. I start very light, and then I use the straight alcohol ink, which is acrylic, alcohol, and glycerin. And so I go light with the water, I go dark with it straight, like right there. I'm diluting it a little bit, and I'm going in phases and drying in between, because with the pause in between the drying and the brush strokes, it's staining and it's kind of drying. And here, with the long brush stroke, and it pools in some areas. So you get all of these different gradients. And here I'm actually starting a composition almost like a hillside. This is Umber by Dina Wakley. It's an awesome color. It's a little bit like gray meets brown. And so I start out slow, and then I start swiping to get that dry brushing. You see the texture underneath because it's hitting the drawing compound, which is almost like concrete paste. And now I am going over the drawing compound with cream acrylic just to warm it up a little bit. And then I'm right here, I wasn't ready to go over the brown yet, and now I'm adding a piece of collage from an old project, a scrap bit. More joint compound with the palette knife, and what I'm doing here is incorporating the piece of collage into the piece, trying to fill in the gap of those edges. And I'm also, with the palette knife, getting those skips and then smoothing it with a plastic card, getting more skips. And here I'm almost like as if you were drywalling. I am going to incorporate the collage bit at the top here, and I smooth it over with the card just like you would if you were drywalling. And now that it's all dry, because I dry everything off camera, I scraped away with a razor blade just to get even more texture. And then when that was done, poured straight DIY alcohol ink or acrylic ink and let it drip into all those nooks and crannies of the joint compound. And then with a soft, wide brush, smooth it over into all of those nooks and crannies of the joint compound, so you can see how much texture is showing up, and it's starting to look like stone. And so that was one shade. Once it was dry, I added a second coat, if you will. And with what was left, the residue on the brush, I went over that joint compound, and it kind of looked like stone. This is gold tempera, and what I like about gold tempera, it's almost gelatinous, so it's not too thick and heavy, and it's a little forgiving. And so I'm working it lighter and heavier in some spots, detailing with a water brush, deliberately adding it heavy in some spots, dry brushing with it here and there, going over all of the nooks and crannies of the joint compound, going along the edges. I rotate the canvas just to see like what the composition is and to get better access to some of the edges so my hand is not too much in the way. Going a little heavy in some spots. I have a different small flat brush. You know, when you think of stone or you think of the earth, it has a lot of minerals in it. So just the browns and the blacks and the joint compound. Here I'm adding a little bit more of the umber just to get some depth. Later I add a little bit of black. And while it was still wet, I did some scraping with the card. And here I used the umber just to get some lines straight from the bottle. And this marking that I did, I wasn't too crazy about it. So I broke out a foam stamp that I made and brushed it with black alcohol ink. And this is actually one of three. So the first one was straight. The second one, I am mixing cream acrylic into it, which made it gray. And then I added burnt umber acrylic to it to warm it up a little bit, and then stamped over the black. Tried to do a cast off, but it wasn't taking, so I used the umber straight from the bottle and went over it, and then smoothed everything, filled in all of the skipped areas with the brush, dried it really, really well. And now with my finger, I'm just hitting a few spots with the Tempera Gold and hitting it with a texture comb. And now this is where it really starts to look like stone. I'm using the sponge to dab, dry, like dry brushing, but with the sponge a billion times. And now I'm going over the top with some more of the brown alcohol ink to warm things up a little bit because it was a little bit too gold. Turning it around, adding more of the brown just to warm things up. And this is the black alcohol ink just to get that contrast. And then I smooth it over, thin it out. You know, I think that that's the black. I think it's the black. Yeah, this is the black. They're very close, the black and the brown, but that's the black. And now for some energy. Precision bottle, cream acrylic, a few dots. And this is a gold oil pastel stick, and then I use a bronze oil pastel stick, and I did one at the top right there on the right. And now with the precision bottle with black acrylic, this is the last step, a few lines to make it look like it was always there underneath the cream one. Filling that in, and it is done. And you can see how dark it is out of the bright white lights. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you have any questions about my process or materials, which I've detailed below, leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. And if you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will because I upload regularly. Until the next video, take care. I'll see you soon.